Good bit of advice I got when I was out on tour was one of the older pros said to me, if you walk down the range before the tournament, watch all these golf pros hitting, say they're all hitting 7-irons. They're all going to be hitting like 165, 175 yards carry distance. They're all going to have nice looking golf swings these days because of video technology, etc. He goes, so you've got to be better chipper and putter than all those guys. That's the only way you're going to beat them. You're not going to out-hit them. Be prepared to hit bad shots. It's a tough game. You're not going to hit everything perfect. And if you've got too many swing thoughts, it means you haven't practiced enough. When you think about the golf swing, like, happens in like a second, right? Just over a second. It's like 0.4 of a second from the top of your swing to impact. So there can't be too much going on. You can't say, oh, I've got 3 swing thoughts and that you're going to accomplish all those over 1 second. It's a little bit tricky.
All right, guys, we're here for a fun one today. We're going to try a podcast out. We have special guest Shane Barron, PGA Pro from Australia, and he is my swing coach. I met him about a year ago, and he's helped me develop my swing. We played a bunch of rounds together, and I'm usually end up asking him a ton of questions, maybe too many questions. And I figured I called him up the other day. I said, hey, let's get on a podcast and let's ask these questions on camera. So we're going to ask Shane a ton of questions, learn about what it's like being a golf pro teacher, his methods on the best ways to learn, to go through lessons. So hopefully you guys can get a lot out of this. I always get a ton of value when from Shane, from all my questions. So hopefully you guys do as well today. So I guess let's just jump right into it. I've never done a podcast before. So Shane, how did you end up in Laos? Give us a little background for our viewers of
Sure.
who you are and how you got here.
Right, yeah. Well, I turned pro in Australia in 1998. Did a 3-year traineeship with a golf club in Australia, Cobra Golf Club, under Tony Di Tommaso. So turned pro 98. 2006, 2007, I ended up teaching in Thailand, Bangkok. And I really enjoyed it. Work permit didn't work out, so I couldn't stay there. But then, 7 years ago, my wife and I just decided to sell a car and just go traveling I just like had a Toyota Camry. I said, let's sell the Toyota, just go traveling for a few months in Asia, see if there's any teaching opportunities. And we came here, and I had no idea, of course, of the amazing golf courses and facilities here. And there's no other foreign PGA pros here. There's some Thais and some Laos, some Koreans. So I thought I'd just give it a go. And we're here, still here, and love it. People are great.
So how'd you, when you came to, how would you advertise that you're a teacher? How did you get your first clients?
I got just on social media through Facebook.
Okay.
There's a Facebook page, VNTN Social. So that was really helpful. And good support from the Australian community, actually. I was invited to a lot of functions and got to meet good people, and then things just rolled from there.
Kind of just snowballs then. Yeah, that's cool. And what is it like? Is it teaching in Laos versus when you taught? Did you teach in Australia at all?
I taught in Australia plenty. Yes, I've taught on the Gold Coast a fair bit. I've taught indoors for golf shops. I've taught many different places. It's very different here. The culture is very different, very relaxed, especially on the golf course. I think that took me a while to adjust to, having groups of 6 and people playing slow, and so I've had to slow down a little bit myself because it can be very frustrating when you're cruising around and then you hit a group of 6 and you're going nowhere.
And sometimes there's no passing here too,
No.
right? It's you kind of got to wait for them to do it. I've run into that situation a few times, and sometimes they let me through, sometimes they don't, and then
Yes.
I usually go wander and try to find another hole usually.
Yes.
If I'm playing solo myself.
Yeah, it is very different. It took me, I think, a couple of years to just settle down a little bit, just relax and not get upset at those situations.
Yeah.
But I think it was a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so let's get into lessons.
Yes.
What is it like if you have never taken a lesson before, what are some tips that for mindset that a golfer should have when they first get into a lesson?
Sure. We obviously are going to try and find someone, obviously, that you're going to relate to. Not everyone relates to everyone, so I think I'm a pretty relaxed sort of customer, so easy to deal with. But don't get on with everyone. So that's just got to find that right person that you're going to get on with, communicate well with. And then I think put aside some time. I think a lot of people get a golf lesson and then like they're planning to play the next day, or even I have lessons here on a Saturday morning at like 9 to 10. They're teeing off at 10:30. And for me, that just does not make sense at all. I think they should be staying here for 2 hours and practicing what we've tried to work on. I don't think they should be going to the golf course. So I think putting aside a couple of weeks to say, look, I'm going to get a golf lesson on Saturday. I'm going to hit balls on Saturday afternoon. I'm going to hit balls Sunday. I'm going to try it again on the range Wednesday night. The next Saturday, I'm going to go back, see my teacher again, maybe do some chipping. The next day, practice the chipping that he taught you. Try and invest some time over a couple of weeks. And I think that will really accelerate your learning.
Right. Yeah, because I feel like the mindset that a lot of people might have is that like you are the magician and you are going to,
Yes.
they go to, all they need to do is go to lessons. You're gonna be the like do it all for them.
Yes. I have a bit of a saying like the magic wands. That some people just expect the magic wand. I'll give people keys, but they have to go away and practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot more
Yes.
practice. And
Yes.
what type of practice would you recommend they do? Like driving range, like hitting multiple clubs, like or short game putting. Like what should they focus on really? Like if they are doing that practice, I guess it depends on what you tell them.
Yes,
but in
and
general,
depends on weaknesses in their game.
Right.
But one thing I see majorly is that people just concentrate too much on their full swing. If you break golf down as like a business, and so your average golfer who's shooting 100 is having 40 putts, 40% putts, you add in chipping and pitching, shots under 100 yards, same for golf pros, around 66, 67% of their score. But people are practicing the 30-something percent here on the full swing. They're not touching the putting green. They're not chipping and putting. So I think people have a very skewed idea of where their practice should be.
and maybe that's because they're not aware of how valuable the short game is, or maybe because it's like the drive for show, putt for dough sort of thing, where the driving is like kind of like the bench press. I feel like
Yes.
as guys, and it's kind of the ego gets attached to it.
Yes. Yes.
And then the short game is like, oh, okay, well we do that, but it's
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I think people, they get too amazed by some guy who hits at 300 yards on the range. I've seen 1,000 guys hit at 300 yards. I really don't care.
Yeah.
But show me some guy in that putting green will just two-putt from everywhere, and then I'll be impressed.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's some, and knowing the stats, I guess, of where the value, it depends what you're playing for too, right?
Yes.
I guess, are you playing for a low score? Are you playing to impress your buddies with a big drive, or
Yes.
what are your goals? And maybe that's sort of like,
Indeed.
maybe when you get into a lesson, maybe like defining your goals should be like, what about that? Like,
Indeed. I think good communication with your coach about where you want to go with your game.
right.
I think good communication with your coach on all aspects, especially if you don't quite understand something, please stop and just say, could you explain that again? Or could you show me that on video? I think is very important that you're understanding what your teacher's saying. But I think one of the main things I'm trying to do as a teacher is make sure my student understands what concept I'm putting forward, understand how they need to improve their game.
Right.
Really make sure that I stop and try and make sure they understand it before we go anywhere. And so I think a lot of people are a little bit too quick to hit golf balls as well. So I'll show someone their swing on video and say, look, you're doing A and B wrong. I think we need to fix it. And then they just go straight up to hitting bay and they're grabbing a golf ball. And I'm like, wait. Let's have some practice swings and try and work this out, see what it looks like on video, see if we've improved the technique, and then go from there. They're a little bit too keen to jump in and hit golf balls sometimes.
So slow things down.
Yes. Have some practice swings, try and get a feel for what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really important.
Yeah. All right. Well, I got a bunch of questions here, so let's just sort of dive into them.
Yes.
What's the best part of your job? Like,
Best part of my job is doing what I love.
yeah.
Like I still have days where like a Sunday I had 7.5 hours coaching, 35 degrees, woke up and thought, I have to go to work. But then when I got here and started teaching, I was just, cruise first. Yeah, just love it.
Because
So,
you love golf and you love,
love
or like
golf.
what, love like helping people get better? Or?
Indeed. Yeah, indeed. I just love helping people get better. It's a difficult game. So for me to be able to help people out,
Right.
make that journey a little bit easier, I think is really cool.
And I guess like you learn a lot too, like just being in different situations, seeing different mindsets, and
Yes.
so it's like there's always a challenge, and you're refining your
Indeed.
golf knowledge.
Different teaching style, different learning styles,
Yeah.
different personalities. So just adjusting to the person.
Have you ever had like a student where you're just like, we can't do any more lessons, or like?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've had. I think that sort of happens over time. Like sometimes, like I said earlier, sometimes people just don't get on personalities.
Right.
You know, you could have a group of 6 or 7 friends that all recommend, "Oh, go to Shane. He's help me out," and then one of their friends doesn't. We don't. Yeah, we don't. I don't get across or don't communicate with him as good as the other guys, or something.
Yeah.
Happens. It happens. So then you sort of fire each other.
Yeah.
It's not me firing the student.
Yeah.
Other
Things just
times
don't
I've
work
had
out.
students that maybe if they're a little bit rude to me or they continually turn up late, I
Yeah.
really get annoyed with that. So then
Yeah.
I just don't offer them spots anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes
Yep.
sense. That
Yep.
makes sense.
I've had some kids where I thought the parents would bring them and the kids didn't want to actually be there. And I just went, look, I'm not, you're wasting your time here. I don't want to do this.
Yeah, the will has to be there, right?
Yes,
to,
yes.
to have any progress.
Yes.
So, what's the most common swing flaw you see?
Most common swing flaw I would see would be number one, a bad grip. Bad placement of the left hand. Like most people that slice it have that one knuckle grip, weak grip. They don't have the hand around there enough. I see that all the time.
Right.
Gripping the club too much in their palm, not in their fingers as well, so the club can't hinge. So I'd say firstly the grip.
And why do golfers like naturally then, like as they start out, go to that type of grip? Does that feel more natural? Like,
Yeah, and I also think some of the markings on the clubs these days have like a line straight down the middle.
right.
So people just think, oh, my thumb goes right there.
Got it.
But that's not the case at all. So
Right.
they get a little bit confused by the markings on the golf club. And a lot of these companies get a little bit lazy because they're just producing the one grip that goes on right-handed clubs and left-handed clubs.
Yeah.
So that thumbprint is in the middle. But whereas it should be a little bit on the side there so we can see the two knuckles at least.
And I guess maybe it comes from like maybe if they play baseball or like hockey or different sport
Yes.
where you're really gripping the full thing. So it could be just,
Yes. Yes.
they assume that that's probably the way to do it.
Yeah. Probably the second thing would be lack of weight transfer, lack of finish position.
Right.
Yeah, which is, I think, is a massive thing.
Is it like, do you see a lot of like swaying to like as during the weight transfer? Like or what's-
Sometimes I think newer golfers tend to, because they haven't got the golf flexibility, they tend to lift off their front foot and then their head position moves up and away and they have a bit of a sway in their backswing, move off the ball too much
Right.
as they're developing that turn. Yeah.
And that leads to mishits, I guess.
Yes.
Gets you off.
But I think just a lot of people just staying on the back foot, releasing their wrist too early, not finishing on their front foot.
Right. And what are some ways to like some basic exercises like without any tools
Yeah.
or anything to sort of
I think a simple
weight
thing,
transfer.
and probably one of the best lessons I've ever had in my life. I was 16 or 17 years old. I went to see Charlie Earp, who taught Greg Norman when Greg Norman was a kid. So it was a big thing going to get a lesson off Charlie. And say our lesson was 9 a.m. in the morning. He said, Shane, I want you there at 8 o'clock in the morning. I said, okay, Charlie. Get there. Charlie says, I want you to hit 7 irons for the next hour before our lesson. And he said, I want you to finish on your front foot, facing your target like a golf pro finishes.
Yeah.
He said, I want you to stand there until the ball hits the ground. Just do that for 1 hour. And so I think that's a great thing. So I repeat this, like that happened to me when I was 16, 17 years old, like over 30 years ago. And I
Yeah.
still tell people this all the time. Just hit balls for an hour and just finish your golf swing. Finish on your front foot.
Because you can't fake that then. You have to.
Yes,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have to swing smoothly. You have to swing balanced.
So you're not maybe worried about where it goes or the result or anything. It's just the.
Do not worry about. He said to me before he walked away for his 8 o'clock lesson. He goes, I do not care where you hit it. I don't care if it goes over there or if it goes over there. You stay on your front foot until that ball hits the ground.
Interesting.
And I
Yeah.
don't think I've ever had to really think about my finish position too much since then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You drill it in.
I had a lesson in the following week with him, and we did exactly the same thing. He goes, "You know the drill, get here early, do that."
Huh.
He was fantastic. Very simple coach, very basic coach, but really taught you a strong lesson.
Yeah. Old school, maybe.
Old
Like,
school.
yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And you just one club, like not switch it up. It's just the
Indeed. Something we spoke about before we sat down here today is something I've spotted with your own practice style, is just jumping from one club to another. I think just trying to stay there with one club and just build that repetition. Just trying to
Right.
hit that same shot. So
Yeah.
I'll set up a little Garmin R10 when I'm practicing with an 8-iron. I want to fly an 8-iron 155 yards. So I'm just trying to hit a 155-yard 8-iron smooth.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to repeat that time after time.
Yeah. I think. Yeah, you pointed out after I hit a nice 7.
Yes.
And I put the
Yes.
bag right, and you're like, "What are you doing?" And I think for me, my process is like once I hit each club like good once, like how I want it to.
Yes.
I kind of just start like, okay, well, move on to the next one.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you hit one pure 7-iron and just went, great. Go to put the 7-iron back in the bag. I'm like, woo, woo, woo.
Yeah.
This is the time to keep doing it.
Well, one thing I do before a round, if I'm having some shots, is I'll bounce around. So I'll go from like driver, next shot, maybe just a pitch, because I'm trying to
Yes.
like replicate what it's like out there where
Good
you're
call.
moving around.
Yes.
Is
Yes.
that all right? Maybe
I think that's
like
great. Great. Yeah. Nang, who's training over there, I get her to do the same thing because she hasn't played on the course very much. And sometimes I used to mentally go through a course. So, yeah, if I'm teeing off the first hole, I'll tee off with a 4-iron, then I hit a wedge into the green. Next hole, par 3, 8-iron or a 7-iron, hit a couple of those. Next hole, par 4, dogleg right, driver, 8-iron. And, yeah, sometimes I rehearse a course in my head.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
You can like play a hole out there in the driving range,
Yes.
kind of, right?
Yeah.
200 yards, 300-yard hole, or whatever. And
Yes. If I'm prepping for a tournament, I'll do that.
yeah,
But I haven't played in tournaments for a long time now, so
yeah.
yeah.
Well, besides the local DGA
Yeah,
that you
local
won a couple
comp.
weeks ago.
Yes.
Yeah, he didn't play for a few months, and he shows up and he shoots 2 under and wins our local tournament.
Yeah, only white tees, but again, that week I probably practiced for 3 hours just hitting an 8-iron with the Garmin set up, getting some data at impact,
Yeah,
and just making sure the ball was coming out nice. Bit of chipping and putting practice.
and maybe there's something there where it's like I remember with putting, it's like you have to care, but you cannot care too much in a way. And like maybe some golfers, and it's kind of maybe comes into like expectations, right?
Yes.
As if when you're going through like getting your expectations right? Like and
Indeed.
so it's because like how long it takes to get better as well, right? Like, do you tell your students like how much time that like or like do you like correct them, say, hey, that's really good, right, when they're like
Yes.
getting angry and frustrated because maybe in their mind they think I'm going to get a couple lessons and I'm going to go to like a 10 handicap or something, right?
Yes. Yes.
Do you have to do a lot of correction like that, and like what are your thoughts on that?
I think it really matters about how much that student is prepared to practice. So I have this all the time. People contact me and say, I was told to get lessons from you. So yeah, people contact me, say, I got recommended to get lessons from you. How long will it take me to get ready on the golf course, for the golf course? Which is a pretty valid question. But that really varies. Like, how much does this person, like, what sporting background do they have? Have they played some tennis or something that I can relate back to? Have they played zero sport? Are they going to do zero practice? Because if it's zero practice in between lessons, it might take 30 lessons to get them ready for the golf course.
Right.
If there's practice in between lessons, it could be 10 lessons to get them from raw to ready to be able to play a game of golf successfully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without too much
So,
frustration. And do you let them kind of know your expectation, or do you kind of let?
I let them know if I think they're not practicing enough outside my lessons.
Right.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And what kind of expectations should? I mean, it obviously varies, like you said, sports background, whatnot. But what
Yes.
is like, if someone's say getting into golf or plays casually, whatever, 30 plus handicap, like what would be realistic in terms of like getting, say, from a mid 30s to like a 15, like obviously, like,
Yes.
again, it varies a lot, but like, what's a realistic time frame to like make these jumps?
Good
Like,
question. Good question. I think people could reduce their score very quickly just by reducing their putting.
right.
And it's one thing I ask my students, and I'll have a few students. I say to them, "How many putts?" They'll say, "I shot 87 on the weekend." "How many putts did you have?" "I don't know." And a lot of my students use green over here because we don't have a handicap system, so they've got a handicap, and that also counts your putts and should give you an average. But some of them don't put that in. So that, like for me, if I'm going to shoot a decent score of near par or better, I need to be having 30 putts or less. If I'm having over 30 putts, then I need to hit a lot of greens in a rag.
Right.
And I don't practice enough or hit it good enough to hit a lot of greens in a rag these days.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, my putting has to be a pretty decent standard to get that 30 putts down. So I just think a lot of people would be having 38, 40 putts and really just blowing out, just wasting a lot of scores right there. I do think a lot of people don't chip as good as they think they do.
Right.
I'll teach someone. I taught a guy from the US Embassy the other week, and I'm looking at his swing, thinking, "There's not a lot going wrong here." And I'm like, "What's your handicap?" And he's like 16. I'm thinking this guy should be off single figures with this golf swing. I said, "What's your chipping and putting like?" He's like, "Oh yeah, it's fine." And then I saw him out here, and it wasn't fine.
Right.
I didn't think it was fine.
Right. There's
I think
room
his
for
his golf
improvement.
swing's fine, but I think if he tidied up his short game, that's where he'd go from being like 90s into like low 80s.
I feel like when people, you know, get a swing coach, golf, you know, go through golf lessons, I think they come in thinking like they're working on the swing, not working on the chipping and the putting.
Yes.
Or I'll figure that out. Like that's not a
Yes.
big deal. I'll go.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
because I'm speaking for myself too, right?
Yes.
Like I didn't understand the importance of getting into it. So
Yeah. I pride myself on being a coach of all parts of the game. And I try to get, if I'm coaching either a Saturday or Sunday, unless it's a new student, I will work on their full swing because I understand that's what they want to work on as well. But then if they're a regular student, I'm taking them straight at their putting, chipping. I
Yeah.
want to see them hit a high shot. I want to see them hit a low running shot. I want them to be capable to get out of bunkers.
yeah.
And then they're going to shoot a better score. And yeah, it's simple.
Yeah.
It's just simple.
If scoring low is your goal,
Yeah.
then the short game is where it's at. And I think everyone hears it, but like they almost don't want to hear it in a way. I don't know why. It's like you know, like tons of pros say it, right? Like it's the same thing. And I don't know. We need to get over that sort of.
Yeah. I got some good advice when I haven't played in, just a bit of background on my playing history. I haven't played in a lot of big tournaments. I played on the Sunshine Tour in Queensland. So I've played in your little professional events, some bigger ones, Australian PGAs, etc. But one good bit of advice I got when I was out on tour was one of the older pros said to me, if you walk down the range before the tournament, watch all these golf pros hitting, say they're all hitting 7-irons. They're all going to be hitting like 165, 175 yards carry distance. They're all going to have nice looking golf swings these days because of video technology, etc. He goes, so you've got to be better chipper and putter than all those guys. That's the only way you're going to beat them. You're not going to out-hit them.
Yeah.
And so that was a very, very big eye-opener for me.
It's the differentiator, I guess.
It is.
So what would have you seen what's your most rewarding sort of transformation that you've seen from teaching? Have you been able to get someone that's just new and maybe they're, you know, achieve their goal of mid 80s or something? Or
Yeah, indeed. I think firstly, like I was involved with a few younger kids growing up in Queensland, ended up turning pro and stuff. So that's quite rewarding.
right.
I wasn't their only coach, so I can't take full responsibility. But yeah, I was part of their journey, which that's really cool to then see them playing in a professional tournament somewhere. That's very cool. But I think the other thing is just I become friends with a lot of my students, and then seeing them shoot their best score is really cool. I think that's one of the more better things for me.
Right. Definitely rewarding, I guess.
Yeah. Friends like our mutual friend A Young, like I started him, I saw him hit his first golf shot. And then, you know, he comes in and goes, I shot 87 a year, you know, like just over a year later. That's a cool thing for me.
Wow. So he didn't play before
No. Before he came here, didn't play.
Wow.
Yes.
Because he was.
When he first breaks 100, that I
Yeah.
feel great. People think, oh, so what? Someone's broke 100, but for me as a coach, when they make that milestone, it's a cool thing.
Yeah, that's cool. You're kind of a part of it, right? You feel
Yes.
the same excitement they do. That's cool.
Yes.
So, what do you think separates people who improve quickly versus the ones who don't? I guess you kind of maybe answered that, like
Yes.
practice.
Practice, indeed.
Yeah.
You're going to have an element of natural talent in any sport, but I do think golf is an extremely hard sport, and I've seen some very talented sports people that aren't necessarily great at golf. So it's a tricky game. And I've also seen some people that I didn't think were that sporty, but they just worked and worked and worked and made themselves very, very decent golfers.
Right. So
I'm
practice.
even talking some fellow golf pros I thought weren't that talented, but they worked hard, like harder than I did, and went further than I did as a player, just because they worked harder.
Right.
Simple.
So
Yeah.
practice.
Yeah.
Is, well, here's a good follow-up question. Is practicing without a coach harmful? Like, is it like what problems could you like lean into? Because I know a lot of people now watching YouTube videos, getting
Yes.
lessons. Like, where is it? What should they sort of watch out for? What should they,
Yes. I think these days, with being able to video yourself, you can definitely get away with not having a golf coach, but you must know what you're looking at. You must know a little bit about swing plane, about club path, angles from the front, about weight transfer, about where the club should be coming into impact. I think you must be able to monitor yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
And even myself, I don't get lessons these days and don't do too much work on my own game, but then we'll be doing YouTube videos together, or I'll be out videoing some students, and a caddy or something will video one of my swings, and I'll see stuff that's out, because stuff will get out over time. That definitely happens. Once you fix the problem, doesn't mean it's fixed.
yeah.
Everyone has their bad habits that keep coming back. So monitoring your bad habits, keeping a check on certain things, otherwise things will get out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like even today, like, you showing me the stats, and then, your, was it attack angle or whatever, and I still don't know all the stats and what they mean.
Yes.
But you were explaining, okay, that means I'm
Yes.
coming into out a little bit more or whatnot, right? So
Yes.
you gave that sort of,
Yeah.
but I think it's super helpful having a TrackMan or any sort of a launch monitor to sort of,
Indeed.
that's changed the game a lot too, I guess, right?
certainly
and how,
has.
Yeah,
Yes.
maybe speak about that. How is that changed, and how much has it helped you in being able to teach?
It's helped massively. I mean, when I was out playing professionally, like when I turned pro 98, 99, went out and started playing. I had a big video camera. This thing was like
did
this
not.
big with a little screen at the side. And didn't even have slow motion. We'd try to pause it at the top of a swing.
I would have loved to seen the fit for
Yeah,
that.
we'd plug it into the TV and then get a whiteboard marker and try and draw lines to swing plane, everything.
Yeah.
Even back 2006, I'm coaching in Bangkok, and it was a V1 Pro, which a lot of people just get on their phones these days. And we used to
Yeah.
have it as a PC disc. You put it in, and you had to. That was still a little Sony Handycam. Had to video student swing, HDMI cable into the computer, create a file. These days, I just get out my phone and just go, what?
So it just speeds everything up in a way, right?
Yeah, it's super easy.
Yeah.
And I think these days too, like I'm friends with Cam Smith's coach, Grant Field, who were trainee pros similar time. So like, if Cam's got anything wrong, he could just video it, send it straight to Grant, and Grant checks it out.
Yeah.
It's amazing how simple it is.
That's true. Yeah,
These days.
I've heard some pros do that as well.
Yeah, indeed. Very easy to keep a check on.
That's funny. Your camera.
Oh, it was the thing was like this big. Yeah, had a little screen at the side.
Yeah, because there weren't like when launch monitors weren't around back then, even, right?
No,
So
no.
you'd have to like frame by frame sort of
Yes.
see what people were doing,
Yep.
and
You'd be looking at divot patterns and stuff to try and work out path instead of just having a Garmin sitting
so
there
you
going.
young guys, you don't know how good you have it.
Yeah, indeed.
Okay, here's a question about gear. Do you believe like changing gear? Like, so let's say someone's like, oh, not playing well for the clubs, like and maybe like what clubs they should like focus on, maybe if they're buying, or like should they switch it up? Should they focus a lot on the clubs or more on their swing? Or
Good question. I think if you've got a decent technique, it really doesn't matter what you use.
right,
I mean, I'm using a set of regular flex graphite old XEO irons at the moment, just for a bit of a muck around.
yeah,
They perform fine. Then it's not what I should be using. I think if you're looking at getting serious, though, a good club fitter will help. I think it's important that you work with a club fitter who understands the golf swing as well. I don't think you need to be. I've seen people get clubs fitted to them where the swing isn't very correct. If they're a little bit over the top or something and have a very steep angle of attack, and then the club builder makes a very upright shaft for them.
oh, so
They're fitting them for their bad swing, not for the swing that they should have.
so maybe like figure your swing out first, get
Indeed.
some old clubs,
Yes.
get a good swing where,
Just
and
gets
then
yeah.
fit
Yeah.
and move to
indeed.
the next level.
Yeah. Making sure you're on plane and everything before you go get fitted.
Right.
If your swing's not on plane, then yeah, there's no point getting your clubs fitted.
Yeah, I got fitted recently, and that was, I was like he's fitting me based off my swing. But what if it changed? What if it's not good enough? Right?
Yeah.
Like I had that question.
Yeah.
And,
Well, the
And-
stats we saw of yours today, your path and club face, everything was fine. So that's fine. Yeah.
That's one of the things I'm always like second guessing myself, and a lot of doubt I have,
Yes.
like where, yeah, am I doing it correct? Right. I think that's one of the things with even my driver where I was like, how can I not, I was driving maybe about, max 230. And I just didn't get it. I was like seeing guys half my size smack at 250, 260.
Yes.
And I think it was me not hinging my wrists ultimately, or one amongst many things. But
Yes.
so finally got it up. But yeah, just that doubt. And then I'm always doubting, even if how does, I guess it just comes down to expectations, I guess, right? Like,
To remove the doubt.
well, having realistic expectations.
Yes.
Because I guess,
Indeed. You have to, if you're going to play 18 holes, if we go out and play 18 holes this afternoon, I have to think to myself, I'm probably going to hit 6 or 7 really bad shots in there.
right.
And how am I going to react when I hit those 6 or 7 bad shots is an important thing.
Are you going to start
if I
doubting
blow
yourself?
up and then let that get to me,
Yeah.
I'm going to hit more than 6 or 7 bad shots.
So accept.
So, except I'm going to hit some bad shots. I might miss a short putt. I might get out of my routine for putting, miss a short putt.
Yeah.
I could duff a chip. But all these things could happen.
Right.
And how am I going to react when it does?
That's a good thing. Reaction. Yeah. How you react to your.
Yeah. Be prepared to hit bad shots. It's a tough game. You're not going to hit everything perfect.
That's good advice there.
I think a big misconception about people coming for lessons is that they're going to be bad for a while. There's a misconception out there that the pro's going to take apart their swing and then they're going to play crap for the next month or two.
Oh, so say they're like they've played like for years and then
Yes,
they come. Oh,
yes.
okay.
I think that's a really bad misconception.
Interesting.
And I think most of my students would vouch for the fact that when the lesson's over, they're hitting it better than when they started. I never think I'd take a student backwards.
Interesting. So, or maybe they've just like maybe have a bad swing, but they've optimized for that, and then they're
Yes.
like, and then maybe they come to you, and maybe they're like, they have to like start again, essentially, right? Is kind of in a way. And,
I don't rebuild any golf swings. I would never sort of pull something completely apart.
right.
Yeah.
Because if they've had a swing for many years,
Yes.
they kind of just have to make
Yes.
that the best it can be in a way.
Yes.
You're saying
That's probably another way that my coaching has changed over the years. I probably used to be a little bit wanting them to swing like Adam Scott.
Right.
Wanted this perfect golf swing, and then I realised, and it might be the case of the student is going out to play 9 holes after the lesson. So there's no point in me taking apart his golf swing.
right.
I need to give him a few little keys just to help his impact or help his swing thoughts through the shot.
And yeah, that might be like for a lot of golfers, like if they're just trying to keep up or hit an 80, whatever their goal is, that's probably good, right? Like
Yes.
that's like you don't need to, you don't need to change too much. And there's
No.
so many different types of swings out there. It's like insane.
There
Like I've
is.
seen, but
There
I've
is.
seen swings. I'm like, wow, like they are a
Yes.
great golfer. And I'm like, look, I'm like, how? But
Yes.
it's so personal to swing, right?
Yes. I think that's another misconception as well about golf lessons. Is like people think, I don't need golf lessons because everyone's swings are different. But I could show you 20 golf pros that hit the same checkpoint. You know, there's like that, the hands on the downswing when the hands hit the leg shaft parallel to the ground.
Right.
Show me a golf pro that isn't close to that spot.
Right.
Almost every video I've got on my devices, the pros will hit that checkpoint.
So there's certain things in the
There's,
swing
there's
that
certain
are
things that have to be done.
fundamental.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here. What's the biggest myth in golf instruction?
The biggest myth in golf instruction, maybe like I said, that you'll go backwards at start.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Then you're like, yeah, like don't come in with that mindset, or
Yes.
because you maybe like will
Yes.
follow that too, right? If
Yeah.
you're
And again, I think they think golf instruction is right here, this full swing. They don't think about getting chipping lessons or putting lessons.
yeah. Have your views on the swing changed over time?
A little bit. Yes.
Maybe, well, maybe like you said, how you teach too, right?
Yes.
As opposed to taking from Adam Scott to
Yes.
working what they have.
And I was brought up, so I'm studying golf early 90s. So yeah, and the swing was a bit more classical then, like it was a bit longer. It used to be like take away shaft points down your target line, which it still does for a lot of coaches. And then at the top, the club was parallel to the shaft was parallel to the ground. I'm talking for an iron here as well as driver.
Yeah.
And it's parallel your target line. Whereas now the modern day swing's a little bit shorter, a little bit more compact in the backswing.
And why is that?
I think it's just become more efficient, and if someone's got that shorter swing and sets a good wrist angle here, then they can hit that checkpoint I was just talking about of hands to the leg, shaft parallel.
Right.
Yeah.
And would it be because like the tech's improved and the clubs where like maybe before they had to like take it back more to
Good
generate
call.
more power?
Good call with the because drivers used to have a steel shaft,
Yeah.
so yeah, maybe the swing had to be a little bit longer. That's a good call.
Yeah, to sort of and now it's like you the tech sort of fills
Indeed.
in.
Yes.
And okay, I got to talk about swing thoughts here because
Yes.
like for myself, I always have a swing thought, pretty much, and the way I'll have one, and then I'll just sort of have it for a few rounds until I, feel like I'm doing that all the time, and then I kind of move on to something else. That's my process, and
Yes.
sometimes like the hardest part is when things fall apart and you just hit a few shanks or whatever, and you're just like, okay, now like like what do I do now, right? Like
Yes.
it's like, okay, then the swing thoughts are just like you got 5 in your head.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on swing thoughts? Are they a good thing? Like, is it, how many thoughts should you have? What should you be thinking when you,
I think number one, if you've got too many swing thoughts, it means you haven't practiced enough.
right?
I think you have to practice to a point where you don't need too many swing thoughts. So, but I think 1 or 2, when you think about the golf swing, like happens in like a second, right? Just over a second. It's like 0.4 of a second from the top of your swing to impact. So there can't be too much going on. You
Right.
can't say, oh, I've got 3 swing thoughts and that you're going to accomplish all those over 1 second. It's a little bit tricky.
Right.
But I think you have to practice to a point where you've just got a simple feel of takeaway or your backswing position or impact position. I sometimes just feel takeaway and impact, and that's it.
So do you have a swing thought then? Like if you,
Yes.
you do.
At the moment, I have a takeaway feel and I have an
Okay.
impact feel.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, it's because the mind has to kind of concentrate on something, I guess,
Yes.
or think about something.
And then my putting is more of a process. Which is, I'd have
Okay,
to.
so you line up.
I could run you through it. There's a certain process I have to go through to hit the best putt, I think. Yeah.
Like, and is that like before like right when you're lining up the ball?
Yeah,
Like,
that process starts when I walk on the green and I'm assessing the shot.
right.
Yeah.
And you just stay.
That process would also be happening when my other playing partners are hitting a putt. I'd be standing behind my putt as long as like no one else is in my line. If everyone else is out of my line, I'm just standing back behind my putt. I'm also watching what the other people are doing, just checking out the speed of the greens from the different directions. But other than that, I'm just visualizing my ball running down a line.
Right. So
Yeah.
visualization helps a lot.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Right. And then
Also,
staying.
that becomes a little bit into my full swing game or anyone's full swing game as well, having a solid pre-shot routine.
Yeah. You mentioned that to like with drivers even like doing the
Yes,
same thing all the time. And do you think
yes.
that like sort of like what does that do when you have a pre-shot routine? Like what does that do for someone? Like does it calm you down in a way, or does it
It,
get
it,
you like
it definitely calms you down. It helps with your alignment and it helps with your rhythm.
right?
I found, so yeah, like I said, I didn't play in any major tournaments, but one of the tournaments I did play in, when I first started to get I'm playing in front of crowds, right? I'm not talking thousands, I'm talking hundreds, but anyway. So I see my name on the leaderboard, I see the crowds starting to come around, I'm up in this tournament in Northern Australia, and I just felt my heart just start racing. And I'm like, oh, this is not good. I knew I was seriously nervous. And then I started to walk in over this shot. I started my pre-shot routine. I walked in and hit this really nice shot and then went, oh, hang on. I wasn't nervous once I started my pre-shot routine.
Interesting. Yeah, you
Yeah,
took
and then,
away the focus then became
yes,
concentrated to something else as opposed to
yes.
the external.
And right now, even if I'm hitting off in front of our expat group and there's 30 guys there, or
Yeah.
over here you could go through a group of 6 guys with 6 caddies and we've got 5 guys and 5 caddies. So there's 20 people there watching me. I do not care.
Yeah.
I do not care.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think that comes like with myself. I remember the first time I went out and played a full course, I went solo, so I had to join another group, and my nerves were insane,
Yes.
right? Like insane, and
Yes.
because you kind of like when you first get into golf, you kind of feel like you're a poser in a way. You're faking. You're not like there yet, right?
Yeah.
But you don't want to be. You want to be a part of the group, right?
Yes.
And yeah, so I just remember the pressure was just like overwhelming, where it was like the night before I was thinking about that first tee and like what it was going to be
Yes.
like and everything,
Yes.
and of course I didn't hit a great shot, but over time I found where the more you play in front of people, the less nervous you are.
Yes.
Like it's just something
Yes.
that goes away. It's kind of like maybe I don't know, speaking in front of crowds or something. I feel like it's
Yes.
you just kind of got to work through it. So
I think that's a weird thing. Some people think that if they're playing in front of a good player or a golf pro, that the good player or the golf pro is going to think they're crap or something. But that's not the case. We know what it's like to start golf. Like from a golf pro's point of view, when I started golf, I wasn't great.
yeah.
I'm like everyone else, had to work on it. That's what got me in. I was good at most sports. And I started golf and went, oh, I'm not good at this. I need to practice. I need to coach. And then I started working. I would work on it every weekend, every Saturday, every Sunday. Coaching junior clinics,
Yeah.
competitions. So, yeah, it takes time. We know what it's like to start. Don't feel bad. Don't feel like you're slowing us down. We know what it's like. It's fine. You might get the odd person who's not a very nice person who
Yeah.
is smart, a bit smart ass about it. But most people, genuine people, will know how hard it is and accept that you're going to you're going to be bad.
Yeah.
It's fine.
And I read somewhere one time, people don't like care as much as you think they do.
No, exactly.
Right. And I think that's in general, not just golf. Right.
Yes.
So like in our minds, we're like, oh my gosh, this person's analyzing. And like, really, they're just thinking about their own game. And like,
Yes.
they're not really concerned as long as you're having a good time
Yes.
and good vibes.
Yes.
And so that's when I remember reading that was like, yes, it makes sense. And that actually like chilled me out a bit too.
Yes. And I feel bad sometimes when I do play with an amateur golfer who's not my student, right? I will not look at their technique. Even though they might be slicing everything and I sort of know that they're over the top or whatever. But they're not my student. I'm
Yeah.
out there just having a game myself. I'm not sitting back going, what's this person doing right or wrong? And then have to go and hit a shot myself. I couldn't really care. So, yeah. And I feel bad sometimes because I'll finish the game and the amateur goes, "Oh, so Shane, why do I slice it so bad?" And I really don't have enough information to give them the correct information because I'm not looking that hard.
Yeah.
But if it's one of my students, I have a background of video with them, and I'll know their swing faults. And so if I do see a certain shape, I'll go, "That's because you're doing A or B wrong." I'll slide past them and say, "I think you did such and such wrong or such and such wrong."
Yeah.
I can offer a little bit of advice to them because they have a background to understanding their golf swing. But someone I haven't taught before, yeah, I'm not really that interested in watching their golf swing.
I know. They're like, yeah, they probably feel like, oh, they're probably like, what? Like, you know,
Yeah.
like what a dick. He doesn't even. Like...
Yeah, I know. That's what I feel. In the pro-ams, especially when I was younger, hey, I'm 20 years old or something, trainee pro, I was laser focused on trying to be a golf pro. And then, yeah, some guy would go, "Oh, what did I slice out there today, Shane, after we've played in a pro-am?" "Oh, sorry, man, I don't know." I was so far into my own head, in my own game, I wasn't even watching.
Make something up.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, so
Selfish.
what's the most common swing thought you hear from like that people have, or what is maybe the best swing thought that if you're gonna have one swing? I know it's dependent on probably each person.
Yes.
But in general.
Well, that probably depends on what the person has to achieve in their golf swing. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's not really like a general one that you can have. I don't think so. Yeah.
I don't think so. I think keeping the head still is the worst swing tip ever.
Yeah, you hear that a lot, and I hear golfers. I lifted my head. I lift my head, or when they top it. I think that's the common sort of.
Yes.
And why is that? Why is that the worst?
Because it doesn't allow people to get through an athletic finish position. So if they're just thinking keep the head down, keep the head down, keep the head down, then the body just stays there.
They're not.
They don't transfer
through.
their weight. They don't hit down through the ball. They're not getting into their finish position.
Yeah.
I see it all the time. I see it with parents. I'll be out there with their kids, and even though I coach the kid, then the father says out there, "I keep your head down, keep your head down." I don't say anything, but I'm like,
where did that come from? Like,
you got to keep your eyes on the ball. Eyes on the ball are rule number one for any ball sport.
Yeah.
Which means the head has to stay fairly stable. But I could show you swings of Rory, swings of Tiger. The head is not perfectly still.
Yeah.
And then people just trying to keep their head so still that they're just restricted.
Yeah, I've done it.
No turn, no finish position.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah, is there anything else? Any other sort of information or tips or things you have to share from teaching, you think, that would be?
I think taking it from someone who coaches golf all the time is just look at your game as like a business. And are you ticking off all the parts of that business? Are you doing your putting? Are you doing your speed control? Are you trying to hole out your short ones? Are you practicing that? Do you have a high chip shot? Do you have a low chip shot? Around the green, have you got options? Are you solid out of bunkers? Can you get a bunker every time? I really just don't think you should be parked at the driving range trying to find this Adam Scott golf swing.
Right.
And I know from experience from my students and from myself, is learning about what the club face is doing for your short shots, if you're hitting a high shot or a low shot, or if you're trying to create some spin on a little 30-yard shot, understanding what happens at impact there can lead into your full swing anyway. And make you understand what the club face is doing at impact a little better.
That's a good tip. I like that.
Yeah. Really just hammer the short. You have to hammer the short game. You cannot be good without being good at the short game. So
set up, and this kind of is like setting your goals, your intentions, and your schedule. And I even started doing, like, I got a little notebook, and after rounds, I'll make some notes of things that maybe a swing thought that I had, how it turned out.
Brilliant.
And then I can sort of go back to it. It's like kind of like a journal in a way.
Indeed, I do the same.
Okay, so like
in my teaching diary each month, I usually have a bit of a swing thought or something I'm trying to achieve with my game that month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more to it, guys, than just going to the driving range and swinging. You got to take it very seriously.
I think if we look at green in regulation stats, so Your average golf pro on tour is hitting 72% of greens. They usually somewhere around that mark, which is 13 out of 18 greens. So a golf pro is hitting 5 or so chips, and when a golf pro is hitting a chip shot, he usually has to get up and down, one chip, one putt, right? I miss a par three. If I don't chip one chip, one chip and putt, one chip, one putt, I'm making a bogey. And if I miss a par 4 and 2, I have to chip and putt to make my par. And your average guy who's shooting 90 is probably hitting 3 greens in regulation. So they got to chip like 15 times.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of chipping.
So GIR.
Greens in regulation. For those that don't know, hitting a par 3 in 1, hitting a par 4 in 2, hitting a par 5 in 3.
Right.
So you hit a par 5 in 3 shots and then your 2 putt. That's a regulation par.
So maybe some realistic goals too are just hitting the green.
Yes.
And not like saying, oh, it's over there, or it's...
Indeed.
Right.
Indeed. I remember playing, warming up for the Victorian Open years ago, and I wasn't hitting it very good in the practice round. And in the practice round was a wise old golf pro, and he said to me, "You're a very good putter." And putting was always my strength when I was younger. I'm like, yeah, putting's no worries at all. It's just whether I hit it decent or not. And he's like, just go for the middle of every green. What's going to be the longest putt you have all week if you're in the middle of every green?
Right, and maybe it'll miss a little bit left or right or short or back, but it's kind of like a...
Yeah, so he made me shoot away from the flag, just go for the centre of the green. It was good, just wise advice that calmed me down before the tournament.
Yeah.
Made me play a lot better.
Yeah.
Took the pressure off a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Expectations. I think it's all kind of comes back to that in a way.
It certainly does. We'll do a putting about putting expectations. Do a bit of a video out there today.
Nice.
I think that's really important.
Yeah, I like seeing on TV now they have the stat where it shows Tour Pro make percentage from certain areas.
Yes.
And for me, it was kind of like, oh, really? That's only 30%, right? Like,
yes. From 8 foot, golf pros are 50%. I'm talking PGA Tour.
Yeah. So an amateur would probably be what, like 20?
Around 27 from the stats that I was looking at.
Yeah.
So a scratch golf, I'm a PGA golf pro, but I'd call myself more of a scratch golfer at the moment. So I'm 40% from 8 foot.
Yeah.
So Tour pros 50%. I'm at 40%. Your average golf around 27%.
So that means you're missing more than you're getting it.
And I'm sure that most of my students, if I've got an 8 foot putt, they'd expect me to hole it.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I think their expectations, even for myself, I think my students would be shocked if I missed a 5 footer.
Yeah.
But like golf pros at 5 foot are what, 66%?
Jeez.
Something like
that's shocking. Yeah, because from there.
I'm probably 50% then from 5 foot.
Where does that come from? I guess because maybe on TV they're watching the highlights, they just see every putt that goes in.
Indeed.
Right?
That's another big thing about expectations is if you look at an average PGA Tour event, right? You got 140 people teed up in that PGA Tour event. 60 plus ties make the cut. So you're looking at 70 something guys are going home without getting paid. Goodbye. See you later. The other 60 plus ties that make the cut, you're probably seeing 10 or 12, maybe 15 of them on TV. So 140 teed off. So you're seeing the top 10% of the field on TV. These guys are having that on week where they're holding the 10 footers, the 8 footers regularly. That's why they're up there on the leaderboard.
Yeah.
So then people are just like going, oh yeah, you're supposed to be holding those putts.
That's not an average round, right? That's like maybe their best round to win a tournament in a couple of years, right?
And these guys are putting on the same speed greens every week, perfectly manicured.
Yeah.
We're putting on greens that have had 100 social players out there this morning. So
you got
plus caddies.
Yeah, you got bouncing everywhere and you got sand on it.
Yeah,
and
in saying that, we've got extremely good greens here in Laos. You'd be very surprised, but yeah, not PGA Tour standard.
Yeah. Well, I think that we can wrap it up here. I mean, thanks, Shane, for coming on the first podcast, and I think we got a lot of I want to watch this back because I think there's a lot of knowledge that you dropped and insights that I think could help any golfer. And it's very interesting learning about the perspective of you being a teacher and all you see. So yeah, thanks for doing
No
this.
problem. It was good fun.
Yeah.
Some great questions. We covered a lot of good topics.
Yeah, so now we're gonna go out and go play some golf here in Lao, and
Yes.
so hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.